How the heck are you guys? My name is Fastidious. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to our fifth and final installment in our class by class epic tier list series. So we've done marksmen, we've done mages, we've done fighters, we've done healers. Maybe we saved the best for last. This is a very fun one. Today I am not alone. As all the videos in this series, I am joined by a collaborator, me and Arcturus from Dragon Slayer's community. We are going to take on the Defenders, the amazing epic Defenders. Some really fun units here. Arcturus, if you don't mind, this is a really bright guy, guys. Super endgame. He's been playing the game for so long, some of you won't even believe it. So Arcturus, if you want to just give us a little bit of background on exactly what you do, and I also think maybe a little bit of background on exactly what the Dragon Slayer community does as well.
Yeah, sure. So I've been playing, as Fastidious said, for about 400 plus days. I joined the Dragon Slayers community about 6 months ago, and we're just trying to bring together people from our experiences and share it with everybody. We're starting to get, we've got a website which has got loads of basic guides on it, and we're working on getting more video content out there over the next couple of months. We've got some of the top players from the Forerunner servers. We're the first people to hit like 70k plus K in Nightmare 4. I know it's a lot higher on global at the moment, but we're definitely got a lot of experience and we're keen to share it with people.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, guys. He really knows his stuff. You're gonna see this in this. And Dragon Slayers, you should go check him out. I'll have everything coming up as overlays on the screen right now. Of course, also the channel, if you want to go subscribe, will be in the description and pinned in the top comment. Thank you so much for being here, Arcturus. You ready to get going?
Yeah, sure.
Alrighty, so guys, we have our nice little epic tier list. We're using the same format with these nice, pretty pictures provided by War Guides, as you saw in the last video, so shout out to him. But let's head over to our list. You can see, guys, we have got a nice handful to take on today. If we look over here, we've got 8 defenders that we're going to be chatting about. So Arcturus, should we kick it off? I was thinking let's start with a nice free-to-play option, right? Livian. So you guys can see here, yeah. Shout out to her. I'm not going to show it in the video right now, but the unique ability, she actually has proper unique abilities we're about to discuss. However, that OnlyFans cinematic, it definitely it leaves a certain taste in the mouth. I don't know. So let's head over to the Watchers. She's a dual faction member. Tell us about her, Arcturus. What do you think?
Yeah, so she's a pretty good defender. She's got a lot of sustain where she gets her awakenings. That shield throw got a pretty decent block on it for 2 seconds. So it's a nice way of keeping people under control. And when she's getting to those upper ends of her awakenings and she's getting that 4% heal every couple of seconds, then yeah, it's she's a good way of good self-sustaining tanky fighter. And especially at Awakening 5, when she gets it, as soon as you place her down, it's just brilliant.
Yeah, guys, she is someone I think. Let me know what you think about this. If this is something that's common as well in the Forerunner server, but like I feel like people just naturally are discounting these champions because they are free, you know. But Livian she is legit. She is very much the real deal. I mean, and you can get her fully awakened for free because that fusion doesn't disappear after the first time you do her. So even though, you know, Arcturus, you just went into talking about these late awakenings, right? We can do it. You know, it's not such a crazy investment. Even getting just awakened 4 guys plus 5% all damage reductions, that's nothing to sneeze at. She's very
I mean, a magic damage reduction on a defender is really good because magic damage defense is one of the hardest things to get in the game.
Absolutely. So yeah, actually really nice that you pointed that out, guys, because magic resistance is like something people kind of sleep on like as a base stat, but it's a place where a lot of defenders struggle, right? They're much better at physical damage, or rather they're much better at receiving it.
The best defense for a tank against most mages is more HP. So if you know that you're coming up against going to be coming up against mages, load up on HP where you might normally load up on defense.
Absolutely. And then just to point out that 4% heal we were talking about, it starts at a base 3%, so now you're getting an extra 1%. It's really solid. I really like her, guys. You guys probably know from my content, I really like her. That extra physical damage reduction is really nice. Overall, just a proper solid champion. The very last thing, sorry, I know I'm kind of gushing about her, but you guys know I love Livian. I use her all the time. This stun, you guys might hear me talk a lot about how stun is really underpowered in this game. And interesting with this game compared to other games is debuffs will have different durations. It's not like a standard thing. So her stun is actually pretty solid. A 2-second stun that's something, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's another tank we're going to talk about in a bit whose stun duration is a lot shorter and it makes a real difference.
You feel it.
Having that 2 seconds
absolutely
definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, no question. Okay, really cool way to start. Really like Livian. Sorry, guys, if you want to see the OnlyFans, you'll have to click on the cinematic yourself. You want to take us through some of these gradings we gave her, category by category?
Yeah, mate. So she's definitely usable in Gear Raid 1 if you were using her with someone like Lightlock. You can definitely get some utility out of her there. Gear Raid 2 definitely got a lot of life in her. She really good resistance from all damage, so she can definitely keep on rolling as you're moving up towards Gear Raid 18 plus. But it does start to drop off once you get past 18 plus, because you're needing more and more shielding and more defense that she just doesn't quite have to push her into the S tiers there.
Yeah, AMR guys. Do you think she could tank the main corridor, or really the main lane, or she'd have to be like a side unit?
I think she's probably better as a side unit. I mean, especially with that throwing out stun every 3 attacks. So it's a good way of keeping those creepers coming in from the side, the beholders, coming in from the side under control. If you're sticking Olog's War on her, then she's holding 4 of them, she's stunning 3 of them, and she's healing during all of that as well. So it's one less thing for your healer to worry about on the main corridor.
I actually wonder, is B a little low? Because with those 2-second stuns and the fact that she can sustain herself, so even though she might be on like the right side outside of range of your healer, I feel like maybe she needs like an A- here. What do you think? She strictly would be.
That sounds fair.
Okay. We just went through all this together, guys, just so you know. But, as we talk about it more, new things will come up. Very quickly, I also want to mention, I'll talk about Guild Boss here. We're giving her, just a reminder in case you missed the other tier list. And if you did miss them, go back. There's 4 of them. Watch them. 5 if you want to watch the Epic Lord ones with the Epic Lords collaboration with Ivy. But we're giving her D here because Watchers, let's be honest, probably the weakest faction in the game right now. Let's see once they start adding new units. However, if you happen to be running a Watcher team, because it is like the progression free-to-play team you get at the beginning, you might need an extra body just to benefit more and more from Ein's bonus. If you have Ein, probably that's who you're using, not Leia. So we'll give her a D there, but she's really would just be there to be a warm body. For Arena, I just want to take you through it. Guys, we're basically not going to give very high Arena grades across the board. Do you want to explain that a bit, Arcturus, why you really need a defender in Arena, especially later on?
I mean, it's the only real one where you need a defender is the sustained damage, because most of the time you just want to be getting out and killing the enemies as fast as possible. So in sustained, get your defender down as soon as possible and then build your DPS up around them. And it may be that it's better there's a better option out there, but if you're using her with someone like Lightlock, then she's definitely going to have some utility in the sustained arena.
Absolutely. And guys, just a reminder about the gradings as well. Whenever you see a dash, that's like me and Arcturus saying, you know what, I think probably not really you're going to want to use them at all there. And then the lower grades, like the D's and the C's, are like, you could use them, but there's probably better options, right? So campaign, we went ahead and gave her an S. Because like those damage reductions are super great, as Arcturus described, as you described, man. And then also like she's free, right? So you could have her like super fast. You're encouraged to do her from those like mini quests. It's like, hey, fuse this one, fuse this one, fuse this one. Next thing you know, you have all the things you needed for Livian, or rather not fuse, but bring up to level 40.
It's so easy to get some of these fusion heroes, and they're definitely worth building up because of that. So.
Yeah, you might be coming from
and her awakening is just everyone is a real boost to her role as a tank.
Yeah, because there's so many heroes in this game, right, Arcturus, where like their awakening, it's like 2 and 4 aren't that good or something like that, but she kind of always benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true.
Moving on to faction, man, I think S+ is what we came to, because Watcher and Piercer, dual faction memberships, always can get bonus points, and she's actually the only tank in Piercer. And one of only 2 epics in Watcher. Onto Voidrith, we'll just wrap it up. We're giving her a B-.
And also, when you get into faction 10+, which I know isn't quite yet live on global, but it's coming soon, you do start needing those extra tanks out there. So having that extra tank available, she's definitely got a good role in there.
Yeah, and that's a great reason to have you here, man, because you've got that insight. And normally I don't like talking about things to come, but by the time this video comes out, it's coming in like 2 days, folks. So get excited. We'll just wrap it up real quick with Void Rift. B-. You could totally use her for the damage reductions and stuff. She's tanky, she'll heal herself, but there's going to be better options we're going to talk about. Overall, what are you thinking? I think I've got a number in my head. What do you think?
I'm thinking probably A minus.
I was thinking A-, so I think that works really nice.
Yeah.
I think she's the kind of champion who's like a real rock star, but then is going to fall off a little bit towards the end. So great.
Yep.
On to the tier list. I think we're off to a nice start. Let's keep it going here. Shall we talk about Mr. 31 himself, Mr. Titus?
Yeah, Titus.
What is there to say?
He's so difficult to use. He's just a ridiculous cost. I mean, God, he's heavier than Zealous was before they reduced his cost.
Oh, yeah.
And Zealous was insane. So because he's so expensive to deploy, you've got to wait for him a long time to get him out. Either you're going to have been swarmed by enemies by then, or you're going to have been overcome, or the people coming out are just going to be hitting so hard that 6 instances are going to take him immediately down.
Yeah.
So his whole defense strategy just falls to pieces. The only reason you might want to get him out is because he feeds into a Pyros or Twin Fiend or Soldacan's focus fire, but yeah, he's just...
Yeah, I think you're going to be pretty desperate to be using him. Who knows, maybe even there's content that still hasn't come out on Forerunner that even Arcturus doesn't know about, but I think right now 31 cost, highest cost in the game that we have live on global, that is just unusable for so much content.
I mean, you might be able to get him out in, but
I think if we have to start looking at Tide as the use case, right? Tide is just like, how many warm bodies have you leveled, right?
Yeah, how much high level gear have you got to throw?
Truly, yeah. I mean, guys, Titus, it's rough. If you pull him, it's a big L. I'll take you guys through it real quick. Mr. 31 himself, Gear Aid 1. You got to get. Let's just say one more thing though. Wouldn't you agree? Like the big point of tanks is they're some of your first deployed units, so like they can't be 31, right? Even tanks that have amazing kits, like you've probably used Toror before, right? Even at 25 with a guy that great, it's still like 25 for a tank, really. It's just too much.
I mean, honestly, Torador, I use him in an inspiration set to boost my Salazar and Guild Boss.
Yeah, crazy. All right, guys. So with Titus, here we go. Mr. 31. Gear Aid 1, 31 cost, you're not going to use him. Gear Aid 2, you could use him, but he can't even really heal himself. Like, he can only heal himself, rather. He can't even be healed. So then he's not going to get the benefit of, like, Vortex's shields and stuff. C-, he's, like, barely usable. AMR, we're giving him that solid D. You know, what does that mean? It means technically he's usable, but come on, guys. Especially when you're trying to bum rush that Salazar fight and get him down. Like, don't you think, can you ever imagine actually, now that I'm looking at it, could you actually ever imagine using him? Like, if you did a takeover, Arcturus, could you ever imagine using him for AMR?
Oh, God, no. No, I mean...
I'd rather, like,
I have done the stupid Nightmare faction, no healer in Artifact 18. So you just want to get speed down and you want to do it that way. You don't want to be messing around.
Like you're Narvi, if you're using Narvi or something to generate costs, you don't want all that cost going to... I think I'm giving him a dash here. You'd have to be pretty nutty to use him there. Guild Boss just on the focus fire that Arcturus you were just describing, right? I think we'll give him a C- if you just need like some infernal warm body. Arena, guys, 31 cost in Arena, that does not match. Campaign, some of the campaign stages are longer. I could see if you were desperate really early on, but we're just gonna give him that D. Do you want to enlighten me a bit about faction? Because I would think he gets better as we're gonna get more faction trials, right?
Yeah, so as you've already started seeing in the Infernal Trials, that the pathing of some of these enemies gets quite long, and especially on the respawning effect on the infernal enemies, that having someone who can be there consistently and get him, but you need him at the end of a long path because you need that cost to tick up. But yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that you just need so many bodies out on the field to generate the focus fire to bring down the boss, I'd have him as a dash. I wouldn't play him other than the fact you just need people who can apply some damage.
So look at that, right? The only reason we've given him an S is just because the only virtue is existing. Nothing about his kit is working for us. I think I'm gonna give him a D+, because he's not as bad as a couple of the Ds we've seen through these other classes. Do you think D+ sounds right?
I think it's a generous D+.
All right, we're gonna give him a gentleman's D+. Let's give him that right there. I will move him to the back of the line though, because I'll just tell you right now, no one else is going to be hanging out with him in D by the time we're finished with this tier list. On to a very fun one. Should I start here, or would you like to with Baron? I mean, this is going to be a fun one to discuss.
I mean, I love Baron. Baron,
then take it away.
Was one of my first tanks.
He was he was the first epic I ever pulled. Actually,
he's a fantastic guy. He's he's got really low cost rage cap. Hits 400. When it's skilled up, and he's got this unyielding faction state, and he just puts up the shield. It takes a load of damage. In the end of it, it explodes and causes a load of AoE damage. So
can you really talk through that? Because like I've done some testing with his damage, but you were telling me like he does a lot of damage potentially.
I think it can be a lot. I mean, when I run him, I generally have him on quite a lot of defense. I mean, you can almost run him as an attack-based healer. Sorry, an attack-based tank, because 70% match HP, so it's attack damage that he comes off. I mean, he's never going to be like a fighter level, but it's the fact that because his rage cap is so low and his shield is going up all the time,
it's a high frequency,
that you keep getting these AoE pops, and it just chips away at the enemies.
Yeah, and sometimes that's the difference, right? Just that little bit extra damage on some of the mobs. I think he's awesome.
And especially when he starts getting his awakenings as well, and he gets his healing as well coming up. So
no question. The last thing I would just point out is, guys, this shield, right? Arcturus, it goes all the way up to 100% of his max HP. That is just a juiced up shield.
Yeah, and that's why he's godly in gear rate too.
It's just huge. And I will point out Awaken 3. He's not the easiest champion to pull, it seems, but you can do it. I do have him Awaken 3 now, and this is crazy. 3 extra seconds, so 11 seconds of unyielding. Let's get right to the ratings, because I think we're in total agreement, right? He's a high quality hero in this game.
Oh, definitely.
So I will give him a demerit here. So unyielding is the big thing. We can also just say like shields and even a little damage, right? He's got some unique stuff for defender. I will say, right, don't we think Gear Raid 1, I actually think his shields are so good. The reason you would really use a melee unit is probably for some light lock cheese. So we probably almost would make him unusable, but the C is just going to be on the back of a lot of these grades will give him a little boost just because he's a nightmare faction, right? So you need another nightmare guy. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that up to 35% speed boost on Nightmare is just so useful. Yeah, it's enormous.
And anything you can do, even if it's drop and withdraw, just to get someone else a speed boost.
Yeah, we'll talk about Go Boss in a second, but that's a strategy I used a lot before I had enough Nightmare units with him. Gear Raid 2, I don't even think we need to talk about. Obvious S+, the shields make him incredibly tanky. He's got the nice base stats. And then on top of all of that, when you get to later Gear Raid 2, he gets a whole new ability, right? Like for me with I can use him basically as an advanced Decimus with that unyielding, and then you can focus on other tanks to actually be the tanks after the roly-polioles.
You could, but I would much rather use a cheaper unit and hold him back, because he can withstand the screams even in 20.
That's true. That's
where I've got my Regulus, who's significantly more powerful, is dying in with a fully skilled thing. So he'll survive the second scream. It's that third scream just wipes out my Regulus.
Absolutely.
But Baron just stands there and takes it all.
So we can do the
with your support from Vortex on top of his shield.
Shields on shields. You can do the conventional smart way, like Arcturus, like you're doing, or we can do the cheesy way like me, where that's how I got through 220. Onto AMR, the only reason we're not giving him S+ is because there's a better choice that we're obviously going to get to very shortly, right? For the center corridor.
He got me through to 17 at 5-star. He's that good.
Boy, oh boy.
I only had to 6-star him to beat Artifact 18. He's just such a solid tank.
I think I think I want to. I feel like I want to stay at S just because of who we're going to talk about in 2, specifically for MR. But he's so good, guys. Guild Boss surprising A minus. We were thinking, right?
Yeah, because he does have a little bit of damage on him, and that shield is just, and his survivability with the unyielding just can be the difference between surviving into phase 3 of a raid or getting completely wiped.
Yeah. And then again, Nightmare Unit, he might be your 4th Nightmare Unit. That might be the 35%. Arena, we're giving him a C, slightly higher than some of the other ones. Maybe even C+, I think we should change it to, because again, he might be your 4th Nightmare Unit. Throw an Olog's Wall on him. He can do some block cheese for like AoE or sustained. Campaign, obvious S+. Faction. Only reason we're not giving S+ here, guys, is actually there's just so many melee units and fighters, and you really need to put out DPS. I think he's not needed. He's great, but he's just not needed.
Yeah.
And then Voider, if you
when you get to, I know we're talking about content which isn't quite out yet, but the 10 plus on the faction raids, you need longer range fighters, and you don't need that many tanks. It's more about getting that range out there or finding people who can achieve that extra range.
For sure.
So it's not the focus. I mean, you need to tank because there's some nasty enemies, but there are other ways of doing it. And one of the big challenges for Nightmare is the fact they don't really have a healer.
That's actually, I actually don't think they have any. But then I think
there's one coming, but it's
and then Void Rift, pretty obvious S+ based on everything we've described on his kit. The unyielding alone.
Absolutely, yeah.
So overall, I'm thinking just a very, very solid S, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. Congratulations, Baron. Let's keep it moving now. Let's talk about Mariel. Not so much we're going to have to talk about here. I guess I'll get it up and running, and then you can take it home for us. Mariel, she's a watcher, so same faction as Livian. I'm going to make that a big point against her for everything we could describe, just because Livian is free, and I really think Livian is better. Mariel's kind of interesting as our only defense-based healer in the entire game out right now. But if we actually check, guys, if we check Arcturus, right, the defense is low. Like, what is going on here? So the HP is low because she's defense-based, but then the defense is low too. Have you been able to get any decent kills out of her, or...?
I've not had amazing heals out of her when I've been running her, but that might be because it was a suboptimal kit I had on her. I've just started dropping. It's Watcher's faction today, and I was messing around, and I've thrown a Goddess's Grace on her, so I'm going to try and run faction 12 with her in the top corner. But she's not amazing.
Yeah,
you'd have to something else. And there are other characters coming who do her job and do it better.
Okay, nice little, no spoilers, guys, but a nice little teaser. Thank you, Arcturus. I actually wonder, just if this was 3,600 instead of 2,600, that might make all the difference in the world, But 2,600 defense, what are they thinking? I don't love it. I don't love it at all.
There's lots of things that could be said about that in this game.
Sometimes it's like some things they do, like let me know what you think. Some things they do seem so thoughtful, and they create these synergistic kits that are so interesting. And then some kits and some, especially stats decisions, it's like, have you play tested? Like, what are you doing? I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't get it.
I mean, there's definitely some evidence that they've been playtesting gears at characters like fully awakened with God tier gear, and then they jump him out, and everyone's got like B tier gear and
normal players have.
Character just doesn't work.
Yeah. Okay. So let's just get through Mariel, man. Gear Raid 1, I think. C+, if you have to run a Watcher team, she's going to fall off a cliff at the end, but if you have to run a Watcher team with like maybe bought a Neona, or you're lucky enough to pull her, but then you're doing like some kind of light lock cheese, she could be a great warm body. She could provide a little healing, so we'll give her a C+ there. Gear 2, B-. I almost feel like it's high just based off those base stats. Do you think the heals justify that grade, Arcturus?
I think, worst case it's a C+, but the fact that she could potentially provide some healing to somebody on a central isle,
it might be the last. Maybe like if if your comet needs like one.
If it's that the difference between dying on that one of those grand slams,
I think
surviving.
Yeah, that's a great point. But I do think if you're really going to use her, you probably need really great gear. And if you have really great gear, probably been playing for a while. And if you've been playing for a while, you probably have someone better. It's like this, that's my, it feels like there's a logical disconnect there. Like by the time actually you would be able to use her. Guild Boss, she could have heals and she could be a watcher unit, but we gave Livian a D. We'll give her a D+ based on the heals. Arenas, the same story with Arena, right?
I think if it came down to Guild Boss, I'd rather have another watcher archer on the field than try and put her on the field.
Yeah, it's possible you don't have Tariel / Idril or Brienne, right? So
yeah.
All right, Arena, same story as we've seen, maybe even a little worse. I don't know. Campaign, she could definitely help you early on a lot, I think. Faction, she's like you were telling me she could work in the later stages because you need more tanks.
Yeah, in 10+, I've not found a way to do it without 3 tanks on the field.
Interesting. Wow. Okay.
Because
that's good to know.
There's 2 channels down the bottom, and you need a channel. There's a spawn point in the top right-hand corner that's just, if you don't do it, you just get swamped and overrun.
I guess.
And what she's quite good at is being out on her own and providing heals to herself, and then you dump someone who's got some big damage, like Iona behind her, or Soliel, worst case, and all of a sudden that problem goes away. And if you get attacks from one of the mages who's walking past, then all of a sudden she's healing up them and keeping them going. So it's definitely an interesting time. I mean, I'm sure people will blitz through it as the way they always do, but it's it's a nice challenge from Moonton for these last cool sections of the
nice little treat for a couple days from now. I'm excited to see it. And hey, that's a place we're gonna give her 1A. D+ in Void Rift. I can't imagine using her in harder stuff, but I could imagine her being pretty solid and normal. Overall, what are you thinking on a grade here, Arcturus? C- maybe. Literally exactly what I was thinking, man. Exactly. On to someone can talk about really quickly, I think. I'll just let you take it away since I'm unlucky enough not to have her since I joined at the very end of her shard summoning event. Asslda, I think we're in consensus on, right?
Asslda is really quite interesting, and she's quite... first up, she's a lord, which is always going to be good. So she's throwing out those shields to the northerners on the field. Her resistance scales off her block value, and so she's getting lots of synergy from the fact that she's a tank and her resistances are going up. And one of her skills increases her block by 1 as well. So you stick Olog Warlongs on her, suddenly she's got 5 block. She's got masses of resistance, and she can, if you time her ultimate right, survive the scream in Gear Raid 219. And she's just really quite good.
How does that work?
She's got a sort of
Are you strategically making it so she's blocking people when the screech happens? Is that the trick? And then she has so much.
No, she just when the guys with the big swords start appearing in the top of the field, if you place her down, then that's enough time for her passive to proc, and then her ultimate will have reached max capacity. So you basically, that procs, you immediately fire her ultimate, and you throw shields on top of that, and she just kind of shrugs it all off and carries on.
That's kind of huge. Yeah, so to me, she just stands out because I do think, because Northerners are so amazing for PvE content, and it's just, I wish I wasn't using Dagna, the Rare Lord, all the time. But yeah, she definitely actually super strong in her own kit, in her own right.
Definitely, and she's got a nice set of awakenings as well. I think she gets more resistances as well, so even more. So.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Same exact thing actually on Awaken 4 as what Livian had. Okay, great. I think she's just a no-brainer, great unit. Don't be upset, Don't be upset if you get Epic Lords, right? The legendaries.
Absolutely. It's nice to have the legendaries, but God, if you can get a long way with legendary lords.
She's a lot better than Dagna. Let's say that. So she's our shield lordess for Gear Raid 1. We'll give her a B. right? Just because you easily could be running like Maul or maybe Nocturne, even though he's single target, just to like nuke down the boss. You're probably running like a Vortex, maybe. I think in the Lord skill alone, pretty strong. Gear A2, is this the most obvious S+ of the day? Maybe the second most obvious S+ we're gonna see?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, she's super tanky, and she's boosting your Vortex, and the more the Vortex is working, the more chance you've got of surviving a Gear A2.
And the more shields going around, the better, and so on and so on.
Exactly.
AMR, what you were saying about the block on her ultimate plus an Olog's wall, if she could be blocking 5 parasitic beholders, right, that is easily the difference between winning and losing, I think, on top of the fact that she's an amazing Lord for Olog and for Vortex, and if you're running Nocturne to nuke down the boss and so on and so on. I really love her there. That's a great... Yeah, you were just telling me about that before. I really like that. We actually, I think this is going to surprise people. Why are we so high with her on Guild Boss?
It was because that she can put out a bit of damage with her ultimate. I think it's like every 6 attacks or so she does a bigger attack. Yeah, she's throwing out those shields, which can power up some of the Northern faction as well.
Absolutely.
And especially some of the legendary artifacts that get bonuses on off shields. So.
Yeah, like North's Will and stuff. Another great thing is even just the 10% stat boost helping out those if you're lucky enough to somehow pull Estrid, or if you're running Voroth, if somehow you went with the Northern team, or you're running Nocturne. It's really powerful, actually. So
definitely. I mean, it's such a shame that Estrid got heavily nerfed, but she was godly in Gear Boss. And would definitely have run more of a Northern team then.
I didn't actually know she got a nerf, so because her kit still reads kind of crazy.
It's her defense break got reduced from being a permanent fixture.
Okay, yeah, that would be nuts. That'd be nuts. So with Arena, I think same thing. You don't really need a defender, but she's gonna get that higher grade because of the Lord skill there. I actually think she should probably be a B for a reason we'll get to when we talk about Avalene and Olog. But yeah, if you're running Maul or something for anti-air, things like this, she could really help. Campaign, this is again a very obvious S+, and then even more obvious, this is probably the most obvious, any Lord is going to be S+ for faction, basically. And then Void Rift, this is what I wanted to ask you about, because you were telling me some crazy stuff for how she's super endgame for Void Rift.
Yeah, so in Nightmare Void Rift the other week, she took a... when Lasier's running his ultimate, so he just started moving, he's cast the purple mist over the ground, and then he fires out this ball which just deletes the last character you placed. And if you haven't placed a tank, then they're going to die. And she just stood there and shrugged it off.
Like it was nothing.
But at the same time, she's then boosting my Vortex, who's doing his job, so I'm getting more shields out there. But she's pretty reliable.
She synergizes this is a lot of the Lords have great kits, but her kit particularly synergizes so well with the actual Lord skills she's bringing and the rest of the members of her faction. It's really nice to see.
Oh, completely.
So this is where we're going to give the devs an A+.
I would say she's almost better than Haas in most scenarios.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That's big. I'm thinking.
Because I know a lot of people who really don't rate Haas as a Lord, so I think. If you're struggling for a Lord,
interesting when Hars is one of the couple faces of the game too. Let's give us very solid S, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, on to Avalene, who we just spent a lot of time talking about off camera. Avalene, pretty cool. I'll get it started and then I'll hand it over to you, my friend.
She looks cool.
She looks very cool. But also Absent looks really cool, right? A similar cool looking, and we know how that goes. So guys,
similar problem.
An easy thing to miss on. Yeah, I was just saying, an easy thing to miss on Avalene actually is if you look in the gallery, it's 3, but if you actually get her max promo, one of her higher promotions, she has a base block of 4. I think she's the only hero in the game with base block 4, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe so. It's like one of her things, high block, and I was running through the build I've got myself, and it's but she's only block 3, and it says on the character on the gallery page there block 3, but
they
right.
hide it away a bit.
4.
So she's unique to Olog, who we'll talk about, and also Asslda. They get an extra block when there's an ultimate up, but she just has base block 4. So with an Olog's wall, she gets 5. If she was next to Asslda, she's got 6, and now we're getting into Gone territory, right? kind of wacky stuff. Overall, we're a little underwhelmed by like general like base stats and performance and stuff like that. I mean, the HP is very high, but she's got some pretty cool things.
That would be fine, but the block, the AoE stomp, and
I was waiting for you to talk about this.
Such a small square. It's such a small thing. It's like one square in front, one square behind, and one square either side. It's not big enough. And again, as you pointed out, stun 1 second.
Well, yeah,
it's not enough.
It's half. Half of the Livian, and without the shield bounce going around too. So it's just the utility falls off. Absolutely,
and her second passive is just defense, so it's plus 25% defense. So unless, if they gave her like a defense-based attack, then
that could be cool.
It would have worked.
Yeah,
but until then, she's just lacking something to be a really usable character.
I think she's
dual faction. She gets points for that, but otherwise, she's just not that great.
She has the bones of like a really cool kit, really cool hero, but I am with you. I think she's missing something. The high block is a nice, unique feature though. And I actually did not catch my eye that she was Watcher, so I'm really happy you just pointed that out for me. You want to take us through some of these ratings here?
So as we said, so Gear Raid 1, you could probably use her with Light Block Cheese. You can use her in Gear Raid 2 for a little bit, but there's so many better characters to get
she doesn't
out there.
self-shield, she doesn't self-heal. It's really just going to be, and you don't really need extra block for that stage either.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And if you do need extra block, it's all going wrong very badly. So
it might be too little too late. AMR here, though, the idea of blocking 5 people.
With a block of 5, she can hold a side lane, but ultimately, AMR is a speed run.
For sure,
you want to get it down as fast as possible, so because Salazar will just delete characters as soon as he gets the chance to.
I think we're happy to stick with the A-, just with that singular virtue of that 5th block within Olog's Wall might be the difference again, right? But she's not going to perform in that main lane. Guild Boss, I think you'd have to be a little nutty. Arena, this is a place I was advocating to you, right? I think I've seen her a lot. I think
I'm not convinced, but
I don't know if I've even convinced myself, actually. But I could see someone with 5 block, if you were desperate and you were doing I was singing strictly for AoE DPS, if you need to just take on as many of those little critters running at you as possible. I could see her, if she's not a first choice, she's not a second choice, so maybe a solid B-, but she doesn't deserve the same grade as Asslda. But yeah. Okay, campaign, she could work, but no extra utility, so she's really just the blocks. But A- seems fine. Like, she's got good stats, at least on the HP. Faction, just to see, maybe let's bump it to C+, now that I'm realizing she's dual faction. And then Voidrith, I think you'd have to be pretty nutty to bring her, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to use her.
So this is going to be one of the more interesting ones to settle on, because I actually think we both have some solid consensus on the last two. What do you think here for an overall?
I think C+ is probably fair. I don't think I'd really want to go much higher than that.
I was thinking B-.
I mean, I know she's got a couple of redeeming points, but
I think I want to go C+2, if only as a call to action in case a dev sees this, because I think she needs it doesn't have to be a big buff, but she needs a little buff. So let's give a C+.
Yeah.
Now for someone you really are excited about, and you just really got me excited about, and I might have to be building out soon as I'm getting towards late game like really proper late game content. Tell me about Ardith.
So Ardith, he's a magic damage dealing defender, which is pretty rare on its own. But his Realm of Curse it allows him to do a bit of self healing as well. So he can. I think it's one of his awakenings that he starts healing it. But he can provide an AoE stun because people in the Realm of Curse can't attack, and he starts healing from that. And he's just it is life taking. So he's definitely one who can hold down a lot of people, and because the area of effect for the Realm of Curse is so big that he can draw down quite a lot of characters that you wouldn't think that are above the 3 block. that you've got there. And
How
there's a lot of
big-
sustain. And
how big is
obviously
that AoE,
his
actually?
rage comes from his attack, so he's getting hit. His rage goes up, and he's healing. So yeah, he's
How big?
quite
How big
effective.
is that AoE? Actually, just I haven't played with him much at all.
It's about 2, maybe 3 squares. It's surprisingly big.
Okay, that's significant. Okay, sweet. Yeah, guys, he's someone you could sleep on because I just think in general, we were talking about this a lot off camera, but with Esotericists, right? Like they all could be great, but the Lord skill they get from Raiden and from Venoma is a reduction in skill costs, but they all seem to have skill costs that are a little too expensive. So they're basically, the reduction brings them back to what they should have been at to begin with, right? So then the only Lord bonus is that they become normal, in a sense. Like compare this to Baron, right? Like he should be 100 or 200 less cost for his ult, and then he would be, I think, a bit of a maniac. He'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, if he was running at 400 rage cap, oh my god, that realm of curse would be up permanently.
That's the difference, I think. If he's at 600, if that was 400, then we're talking about a really, really high tier guy. And it's like, that is that if you happen to pull a legendary Lord, right? Then it goes to 450 or whatever. But I just think, this Esotericist in general. Tell me again what you're saying about Invoider.
They are. I mean, I think they're underpowered by about 30% all.
And that's the difference, right? Like maybe that's the 25%.
Exactly.
You know, like maybe I think you're probably spot on. But you're saying Invoider, when you get that faction buff for them, then they kind of come up to snuff. They come up to where they should have been to begin with.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, playing around in the faction trials where you get them on the boost squares, and suddenly who's a terrible tank, sorry, going off topic, but I mean who's a terrible mage, suddenly becomes really usable. And again, Ardith, who's a bit mediocre, suddenly has that extra bonus of being supported by people.
I mean, here's a fun little thing we can do, because guys, like, just to address the audience quickly and to pull back the curtain, if you see here, this is our 5th one, right? So we actually have all our tier lists ready to go. We can actually go to mages, and if you look at not to do a full audible here, we just basically said unusable, 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 so underpowered, unusable, S+ in faction. And I didn't think about it that way, but that's basically it. You're putting her on that magic square, and all of a sudden she's performing the way she ought to be performing all the time. That's so silly. It's like, it's all of us kind of got together. When did they release Esotericists? It was the last patch, right? Like 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, and all of a sudden everyone's like, "Hey,
it's been live on Forerunners a bit longer, but yeah."
Oh yeah, fair. I'm a global guy.
Not that long. It's been not that long.
Yeah.
So.
But basically, everyone on global just kind of opened their eyes. I was like, "Wait, I's good at this content, and like she could be like that all the time."
Oh yeah, stick 500 speed on her, and suddenly she's just flying.
Yeah. All right, so Ardith, take me through the ratings here pretty quick. So magic damage, he's a debuffer with that.
Gear raid 1, you stick him with the cursed cult faction. I mean, he's applying debuffs and he's doing magic damage to characters with low magic defense. So yeah, he's definitely got utility there. Gear raid 2, it's more physical defense that's using, and not so much on the numbers. So he's got less utility in Gear raid 2. Artifact material rate is definitely out on a side lane with that wide area of effect for his ultimate. Absolutely. And he's just got so much self-sustain as well, so he's got the ability to just sort of,
even if he's out of the range of your vortex or something.
Top left, worst case scenario, and you have to go top left-hand corner to deal with the slimes that start to appear.
Because he can do some proper
damage.
Him
out there, and he doesn't have to.
Yeah, interesting. And then Guild Boss, like, you're not going to run an Esotericist team and need that. And he does have the 15% magic vulnerability, but you get Mari for free if you really need that. Arena, it's the same thing. And guys, this is a time to point out, you might be wondering, where's GR3? Well, just think about how GR3 works for a second. It's only aerial units, and there's a couple ground spots, and that's literally for like melee units that do aerial damage, right? Or like maybe placing a cost generator. So there's no use for defenders. So just to make sure, in case people thought
you can get Volker down, and that's about it.
Yeah, stuff like that. Arena, it's the same story. Like, maybe he could help you with AoE DPS, but it's the same story, guys. Like, Asslda is probably the only one you'd probably really want to bring. Let's make Asslda a B+ there. Campaign, probably really solid, especially when you have to deal with like the big Baron Salems, right?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Faction, he's actually the only defender of the entire faction, including legendaries. So I think on
Yeah,
that virtue alone,
I mean, props to I can't remember his name, the guy with the sword.
Jankar?
The other esotericist.
Jankar?
Yeah, Jankar. He's got block 3, but he's kind of got a
Yeah.
tankiness to him.
And he does curse, so he takes less damage naturally.
Exactly,
yeah,
because he's blocking that incoming thrust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I mean, he especially I'm assuming once we get to 10 and 11, and right, like he's gonna be really useful. And then Void Rift, let's have you wrap it up there, and then I can take it home with Olog.
Yeah, so Nightmare Void Rift. Ardith, it was Esotericist bonus, and I went in with a sort of an underskilled Ardith, and it was like, oh god, this is awful. And the next week I came back when it was Esotericist again, and I'd skilled him up, and all of a sudden he's like, he's doing exactly what he's supposed to do. That wide area of effect. He's just locking down so many people. He's healing himself back up really nicely, but it's all down to that 30% faction boost, and it just shows what the Esotericists could do if they were given even at just a base 15% stat boost.
I think let's just,
because then you've got to have the Lord's some bonus for the fact that there's a Lord, so yeah, you can't give them the full 30. So.
For sure. I think let's just treat this as a stealth way for us to do a shout out to the devs. Let's get a little buff on our Esotericists. Come on.
Oh, God, yes.
This is the Trojan horse. You thought it was an epic defenders tier list. Get in the comments. Let's get them angry. All right, to wrap it up, I think I know what grade I want to give him. I'm really curious to hear what grade you want to give him.
I think an A.
Really?
I think he's
okay.
really rather good.
I was thinking A-, but I could see how he's better than Livian. You know what? I especially the way you've been describing all this late game content and end game content that he really excels in. I think that's worth an A. All right, if you don't mind, I'm gonna bring this thing home because I want to talk about Olog. I'll hand it off to you, but I love a simple kit. And I love a great champion, and this guy's got both of them. So there's 3 moves here, no talent, no fluff, right? The basic move is just an attack. It doesn't say how much, it doesn't matter. The ultimate is really cool, but 95% of the time, right, you're not gonna use it. He's just the ultimate shield god spammer with this move. You gotta make sure we got our skill ups in there, right? It goes down to 10 seconds, the shield goes up to 85%. I mean, he's as good as all the hype, right?
Yeah, he does everything. I mean, you can stick him in Nightmare Void Rift against Torador, even without faction boosts, and he'll in the lower lanes, and he'll just hold the damage off, so your fighters can kill all the problematic character, kill all the other people, and then he's just standing there taking it all this damage. Occasionally, the shield goes back up. Oh, my shield's gone down. Oh, back up again. Yeah, he just doesn't care. I mean, you just wail on him, and he'll just stay up.
Like, right? For me, I feel like all the time when I'm watching him, I'm like, oh no, he's actually going to take damage and his shield's off. And then it's like right in that moment, it always comes back up. It's just perfect. And it's so appropriately named as Artifact, Olog's Wall. Like, it's just him personified. Or I guess he is a wall personified. I want to shout out his awakenings, and then let me know if you have any final things to add. So it's an 85% shield, so a bit worse than Baron, but it's just popping off constantly. And then if you're just able to get him only awaken 1, that's 10% more, right? So another 8.5%, 93.5%, nearly 100, almost the same as Baron. And it's just like boom, 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 shield spam over and over. Defense 100, we don't care. But then here it seems boring, plus 1200, but this is basically just a buff to his shield, right? Because it's just going to be based off his HP. I really like his awakenings. I'm curious what you think about him in Soul Stones, because we look here, he's got the same thing as Asslda and Livian on the plus 5% all damage reductions. And then his ultimate, if you're going to use his ultimate for some content, all of a sudden he's giving some physical damage reduction plus 20%, not just to himself, but now to adjacent allies surrounding. So do you think he's a Soulstone candidate?
And that's so useful in Gear Raid 2.
It is, right?
So, I mean, he probably is one to consider spending your epic coinage on, because he will, just pushing up those awakenings, every single one of them is going to improve his usability. So it's definitely something that will have an impact long term. And as soon as you've got him awaken 5s in, and he drops relatively easily anyway. So
it seems like he seems a bit rarer from like the epic drop rate study I'm doing. He seems a bit rarer, but he's definitely not on like the super rare level. It's very interesting.
Yeah, like, I mean, I saw your greed video, your maid video, and it's like, it took me 4,900 summons to get greed. Yeah. So, well,
we can save this for the outro, but I don't know if we can chat about my epic drop rate project, but I think you'd be very interested having played the game for 400 days. But yeah, let's just go right to the list and wrap it up, and then we can give you a big thank you. Olog is just, I want to say one more thing about his Awakenings. I would say he's a great later on candidate for Soulstones. One like caveat I would make is he's actually just so good, even at A0, that it's kind of just gravy. I mean, do you feel that way at all?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I didn't really run him that much until I was in Nightmare Voidrift and everyone was like singing his praises. But Baron is always my first go-to because he was like one of my first tanks.
Yeah.
And he's just so reliable. But yeah, Olog, he's really impressive. He can just keep on going and keep on going. His ability to just shrug absolutely everything off, it's impressive.
Tremendous. On to finally our final ratings, guys. Olog, we have got him as the shield spam god. And he's a god. You're going to see he's going to get an overall that we've only given 2 other people through all the epics now, because now we're finished, right? This is our final tier list before, of course, I'm going to release a master tier list of everything. But we're going to give him S+ in Gear Raid 2. I think that is a no-brainer. Gear Raid 1, I think he's straight up unusable because the only reason you'd use him is for like some Lightlock spam, but Lightlock cheese, but he wouldn't be healed because his shields are too good. So he's not actually ever going to need to be healed. So then it's not going to work, right?
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah. AMR, this is like, if we had if I could go to S++, I would. Guild Boss, he could definitely do the Baron thing where he's the last guy that doesn't get wiped if his shield was up, you know, and then you can survive it. However, like you don't get that faction bonus by having extra people, so he doesn't get that big benefit from the Nightmare unit. Arena, we'll give him that B. Same thing as Avalene, he's just better than Avalene, but if you time it right with the ult and stuff, he can have your 5 block along with his wall. Campaign, obvious S+, faction, obvious S+, Voidrift, as you just said, insanely obvious S+. Any final thing you want to add on Olog, Arcturus?
No, not at all. He's a really reliable character. He's really easy to get hold of. I mean, you pretty much get him free in Voidrift these days. So yeah,
shout out to the devs for that. I love that. I'm gonna give him an S+. I've only given an S+ to Dolores and to Wrath. I think this is our third and final epic S+. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd go for that. I mean, personally, I'd put Baron at S+, but that's just personal bias. So
people can let us know in the comments, I guess. I do love Baron, don't get me wrong. Second, 6th on my count. I just do think Olaf has that last extra thing. I'm realizing now we forgot to keep on with the tier list, but we got it now. We got Avalene here, we got Ardith here, we got Olog up here, and Titus way down here. This is correct, right? We had the 2 Cs. So I think the ordering, I think, and you let me know what you think, is, well, obviously this based on the plus and minuses, obviously this based on the plus and minuses. This is the only hard one for me, Baron versus Asslda, because they both have tons of virtues and very different virtues. What do you think?
I think that's true. I mean, I think they both bring different elements to the game. I mean, if you're looking at it from that perspective, then Isolde's probably going to pip it just because she's bringing the Lord bonus, whereas Baron is kind of like on his own useful, whereas Isolde is going to be boosting an entire team. I mean, yeah.
I actually think I'm leaning Baron. I think I'm leaning Baron over Asslda, and I'll tell you why. I think especially progression for me is kind of the tiebreaker. I think there's going to be some moments potentially where someone couldn't pass something with Asslda, even with the better Lord skill than Dagna, but can do it with Baron because of the shields and the unyielding. What do you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, he's unyielding. He's just brilliant, and especially when you get to like a higher awakening, he gets almost a full heal when his unyielding pops. So,
well, there you have it, guys. Thank you so much, Arcturus. I'm really happy with this list. I'm pretty happy with all the lists. Any final thoughts you want to give before we sign off here?
No, I mean, I think there's definitely some interesting times for the defenders on the horizons. I think the devs have started to get their heads around defense-based attacks and healings on their defenders. So I think we're going to see some more interesting characters coming in the near future. So
the more variants, I think, to kit design, the better for any of these games. So that's really exciting to hear. It's been really fun having you on as like a proper expert that really understands the end game and really understands the longevity. I might even have a few more questions for you off cam, but I just want to say one last big thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much to the Dragon Slayers community for connecting us. And guys, go check them out. how often do you guys actually post? It's decently often, but obviously not crazy.
I've got some side projects going on at the moment, which is holding up our putting out videos. But once that's done, we hope to be a bit more active and getting some more videos out. At the moment, we're putting out a couple of videos a month. I think we did 4 last month. Okay, maybe a few more.
But very high quality. So definitely worth the sub, and it's going to be even more in the future. Thank you so much for coming on, and thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, like it. If you want to comment. This is one I'm pretty confident in how we shook out, but let us know if you disagree with any of these ratings. Share it with your mother. Leave a big thank you for Arcturus. And I just want to finally say, we are done now. We did the Lords, we did the Fighters, we did the Marksmen, we did the Mages, we did the Healers, we did the Defenders. Obviously coming now, within the next week or two, you're going to get the ultimate epic tier list. Thank you, Arcturus. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye, guys.
Fastidious.